I think it was last year, when we were in a growth phase again and things were changing. And my mom asked me, she was like, so what's your 5-year plan? I was like, I honestly don't even know what I'm doing next week. So I have no 5-year plan, but I used to every year. I used to have, this year I'm doing this, next year I'm doing that. I'm taking this vacation. I'm graduating from college. I'm getting this job. Like this is my plan.
You always had a plan. And it was
always
I remember when we were at the agency and we were getting really serious dating, you always knew what we were going to do for our scheduled vacation time next year, like 6 months from now. I remember you planning, what year did we go to Japan? 2009?
2009. Yeah.
I remember you planning that trip when it wasn't even 2009 yet.
No, it was about a year in advance. I was like, let's go to Japan.
And I was like, psh, we only got, 3 weeks? 2 weeks? How much leave did we get?
I think it was 2 weeks at the time. Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, I've got 2 weeks, which is really just 10 days.
Yeah.
Which as an entrepreneur now, it's mind-boggling to think that people only take 10 days off a year.
Yeah.
When they have 2 weeks.
Yeah. If that.
It's mind-boggling. Because we'll take weeks off. We've taken months off of work to just go do whatever we want to do and let the system grind.
Yeah.
We used to, but
I think it's interesting that you say that too, though, because one of the things I loved about working at the CIA was that at 5 o'clock or 4:30, whenever I got off of work, I had to leave it there.
Everything ended.
You
can't take your classified systems home.
Exactly.
You can't take your documents home. You can't do more research at home.
Exactly. So I had, my 8.5-hour window where I was on it.
Yeah.
And then maybe outside of work, I would think about things. But I couldn't, there was no checking my phone for emails. There was no doing extra work because once I left the building, once I wasn't in a skiff anymore, there was no work to be done. And so I could really go home and just relax.
Yeah. And when I say we took months off, what that really means is, like I would answer messages here and there. And I would even do a webinar here and there if I was invited to do a podcast interview, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't doing the clock in at 9, clock out at 5 with a supervisor on you and you're trying to figure out lunch and you have to schedule. It's always a pain to schedule car maintenance and it's always a pain to schedule medical appointments and it's always a pain when you're afraid someone's going to call because your kids are sick at school. Our life is not that. But you are right. Even on weekends, I mean, there's really no day where I'm not doing something to move the business forward.
Right.
It does. It drives you crazy.
Yeah. And I think you like it. I think you thrive on always being engaged and being involved. But for me, I was a social worker before I joined the CIA. And I intentionally, when I was in college getting my master's degree, I intentionally chose an administrative versus a clinical track because I knew from experience that if I did clinical and I was seeing patients or clients on a day-to-day basis, I would take that home and I would worry about them and I would be thinking about it all the time, where the administrative aspect of it was easier for me to leave at the office and go home. And then when I come in, I think about, the next administrative thing I have to do. So becoming an entrepreneur with you has been a really challenging shift for me because I've always protected myself from burnout.
Yeah.
I know that for me, having a certain level of control over my time and like a delineation between this is work time, this is personal time, right? This is when I'm completely focused, head down in my work, but this is when I get to completely veg and think about nothing. That's been really interrupted by being an entrepreneur because you can be pinged at any time, right? At any time you have an idea, you want to write it down or follow it up or, our conversation.
Because ideas are money.
Yes, because ideas are money.
Yeah, ideas are opportunity.
Right. If you leave work at 5, if you leave work at 5 o'clock and you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. You're not really leaving.
You're not really leaving.
You're really just going into a different environment to see what ideas come up.
Or you're leaving money on the table because you're completely that's how it feels, right?
Yeah.
Like if I completely step away, then who's doing the work?
Yeah.
Because it's my business.
If you like this short clip, make sure you click here to see the next clip or here to see the full podcast episode.